Ever have that feeling, where you spend more time looking for things than actually getting work done?
Oh, yeah. Like
Yeah,
your
man.
workspace has just decided efficiency is overrated.
Right. Total chaos sometimes. Well, today we're tackling that head on. We're doing a deep dive into 5S audits.
Good topic.
We'll dig into the best practices for, bringing some order back. And we're also going to look at a specific tool, Auditor, Audits and Inspections, see how that might help.
Right, because the how matters just as much as the what.
Exactly. So our goal today, pretty simple. Give you the practical stuff you need to understand 5S audits and will actually use them effectively to really transform your workspace, your workflow.
And what's really interesting is that 5S, it sounds like it's all about tidiness, but it taps into something deeper about how we work.
How so?
Well, a messy space isn't just, visually annoying. It clutters your mind, it wastes time, and honestly, it can even be a safety issue. Good point. So the 5S audit is basically a structured way to check how well those core principles, sort, set in order, shine, standardize, sustain, are actually being followed.
And the sources we looked at cover both the big picture strategy and the practical side, like using a digital tool.
Yep. Covers the theory and the application.
Okay, let's get into the core then. The general best practices for actually doing a 5S audit. First thing that jumps out, you need super clear objectives.
Absolutely fundamental. You can't hit a target you haven't defined.
Seems obvious, but yeah. You have to know what you're aiming for. Is it one specific area, a certain process, and how will you actually measure success? What are the criteria?
Exactly. It's like setting the GPS before you start driving. Without that clear goal and a defined scope what's in, what's out, the audit can just become this vague exercise.
And the results aren't as useful.
Precisely. It's about identifying those specific areas or processes and setting clear benchmarks. Make sure everyone's on the same page about why you're doing the audit.
So what are some common pitfalls there? Like, where do companies mess up when setting objectives?
It's a good question. I think sometimes they're too broad. Let's get more organized.
Right, not specific enough.
Yeah, or they don't set measurable goals. So how do you even know if you improved? It's much better to use SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
Okay, give me an example.
So instead of just improve organization in assembly, maybe something like reduce tool search time in assembly by 15% in the next 3 months. Much clearer.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay, so clear goals check.
Yeah.
Then the sources really hammer home the need for training the auditors.
Oh, crucial. You can't just grab anyone.
They need to really get the 5S principles, know the audit steps, the criteria we just talked about, and importantly, how to document what they find.
Yeah, a well-trained auditor brings consistency, objectivity. They're not just looking for mess. They understand the why behind the organization, how it links to efficiency, to safety.
And they need to know how to use the tools, like the checklist.
Exactly. Which brings us nicely to that standardized checklist idea.
Yeah, that seems like a non-negotiable. You need that consistent framework, right? Based on the 5S's, sort, set in order, shine, standardize, sustain. And it should cover the whole range: workspace layout, cleanliness, safety stuff, even those visual cues that help keep things aligned.
Right. And just quickly, for anyone maybe less familiar, sort is about getting rid of junk. Set in order is putting things where they logically belong. Shine is keeping it clean. Standardize is creating the rules. And sustain is making it stick.
So the checklist hits all those points.
Precisely. That checklist is the backbone. It ensures everything critical gets looked at the same way every time across different areas. Makes tracking progress way easier.
It's the guide, basically, so you don't miss key things.
Exactly. You mentioned visual management cues. What kind of things are we talking about there?
Good one. Things like clear labels on shelves, maybe color-coded zones for different materials, shadow boards for tools.
Ah, yes. Shadow boards. Instantly see if a hammer is missing.
Right. Anything that makes it obvious just by looking if something's out of place.
Well, that's the goal of visual management. Make the workspace almost self-regulating. Deviations just jump out at you. Less need for constant oversight.
Okay. Goals. Trained auditors. Standard checklist. What's next? The sources talk about scheduling regular audits.
Yes. This isn't a one-off spring clean.
Needs to be a rhythm, right? Monthly, quarterly. Depends on the need.
Totally. Think of it like preventative maintenance. Consistency is how you embed 5S into the culture, into daily habits.
It reinforces the good stuff.
Yeah, it's not just about catching problems. It's about keeping those habits strong and always looking for ways to improve the frequency. That depends, on the type of work, how organized it is to start with, how fast you want results.
And here's something that really stood out to me, getting the employees involved.
Oh, massively important. This isn't just auditors swooping in.
Right. If the people actually doing the work are part of identifying improvements and suggesting fixes, they'll feel more ownership.
Absolutely critical for making it stick long term. When employees are active participants, they buy in. They take responsibility.
And they probably have insights an outsider would miss.
Often, yeah. Their firsthand experience is invaluable. You could even gamify it a bit or set up small teams responsible for certain zones. Makes it more engaging than just a top-down order.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic. It's not just about finding fault, it's about finding better ways. The sources say auditors shouldn't just point out problems.
No, they should be part of the solution.
Right, suggesting improvements, maybe innovative ideas to make 5S even stronger.
The whole audit should feel like a chance to learn and grow, not just, get dinged for mistakes. Encouraging that constructive, solution-focused thinking. That's what turns a checklist exercise into a real driver for getting better.
Makes sense. And then after the audit, feedback is key.
Got to close the loop.
Constructive feedback, yeah. Acknowledge the good stuff, but also be clear about what needs work. And crucially, follow up on the actions agreed upon.
Yes. Follow-up ensures the audit actually leads to change. Otherwise, it's just page work, right? Feedback validates effort and gives clear direction.
Documentation seems huge, too, keeping track of everything.
Non-negotiable, really.
Observations, things that weren't right, nonconformities, the fixes decided on, the follow-up. It creates that history, lets you see trends.
Exactly. Good documentation is your 5S story. It shows you where you've been, helps spot recurring issues, measures impact, plus it shows commitment.
And speaking of commitment, accountability comes up.
Holding individuals and teams responsible for keeping up the standards.
It's not just about passing the audit, it's about making 5S part of the daily routine.
That's what makes it sustainable. When people know their role, understand the why, and maybe even get recognized for doing well, it sticks. Prevents backsliding.
Okay, last best practice point. Regularly reviewing the audit process itself.
The meta improvement. Improving how you improve.
Yeah, stepping back, looking at the results, the metrics. What's working? What's clunky? How can we tweak the audit criteria or the process to make it even better?
The audit process shouldn't be static. It needs to evolve based on what you learn. Keeps it relevant, effective, and aligned with your goals.
Okay, so putting all those best practices together, that's quite a bit of work. Which leads us nicely into the tech side. How can tools help? Specifically, let's look at this Auditor Audits and Inspections tool.
Right, this is where technology can potentially, amplify the whole process.
The sources suggest it's built to streamline 5S audits, make them more efficient, get you data faster.
Yeah, it looks like it digitizes a lot of the manual steps, which could save time and maybe even improve accuracy. Less paper shuffling.
Step one, obviously, download the app. Apple, Android, it's there. And it's specifically for 5S audits.
That's good. Specific design usually means tailored features, not just a generic checklist app.
It's got customizable checklists, photo capture, reporting. The works, it seems.
And being on both platforms makes it easier to roll out across a company.
Then, the customization piece. You can tailor the checklist in the app.
That's key.
Fit it to your specific 5S goals, different departments, different processes. Make sure it really covers your needs for sort, set and order, shine, standardize, sustain.
Yeah, that ability to customize is a big plus. Moves you beyond generic templates to something that actually fits your specific workplace.
The app's also got scheduling, so you can set up those regular audits, weekly, monthly, whatever, and it apparently sends reminders to the auditors.
Automating the schedule helps ensure consistency, right? Reduces the chance of audits getting skipped or pushed back indefinitely.
So audit time comes. The auditor pulls up the checklist on their phone or tablet.
No clipboard needed.
Exactly. They go through, assess things, and crucially, they can snap photos right in the app.
Visual evidence. Super powerful.
Shows exactly what they're seeing, good or bad, backs up the findings.
And it makes the assessment much more efficient than scribbling notes and trying to match them to photos later.
And those photos, plus notes, observations, it all goes straight into the app. Mark things compliant, note nonconformities, even suggest improvements on the fly.
And you can flag critical stuff too, like safety issues.
Yeah, it seems you can flag things that need immediate attention.
That real-time input is valuable, especially for safety. No delay in getting important findings recorded and visible.
Okay, audit's done. Then what? Auditor apparently generates reports automatically.
The time saver.
Comprehensive reports. Findings, photos, nonconformities listed, corrective actions, recommendations, all pulled together.
That saves a ton of admin compared to typing up notes manually. Gives you a clear, structured output fast.
And sharing is built in too. Email reports straight from the app to managers, team leads, whoever needs to see them.
Good for transparency and accountability.
Ensures the findings actually get communicated and hopefully acted on. Streamlines that whole communication loop.
Definitely.
The tool also has a desktop dashboard, apparently, for tracking progress over time.
Okay, so you can see the bigger picture.
Monitor audit results, KPIs, spot trends, see where you're improving, where maybe things are slipping back. Helps make better decisions for continuous improvement.
That trend analysis is powerful. Centralized data, visual dashboards that helps you measure impact and focus your efforts where they're needed most. Data-driven 5S.
And finally, just like with the general practices, the sources say you need to get feedback on the tool itself.
That makes sense. Is the app working well? Is the process effective?
Allows for tweaking and optimizing how you use the tool and the whole digital audit process.
That feedback loop again.
Yeah.
Applying continuous improvement to the improvement tool.
Yeah.
Ensures it stays useful and valuable.
So yeah, putting it all together, doing 5S audits properly, using those best practices can clearly make a real difference in how organized and efficient a workplace is.
Definitely.
And tools like this Auditor app, they offer a compelling way to potentially make that whole process smoother, faster, maybe more data-rich.
It's that synergy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The established 5S principles meeting modern digital tools. A solid methodology plus a user-friendly way to execute and analyze it.
Yeah.
They could really shift how a place manages its workspace.
Right. It boosts the potential for real operational excellence.
Absolutely.
So here's something for you, the listener, to think about. How could consistently applying these 5S principles, maybe boosted by the right kind of digital support, fundamentally change things for you? Not just the physical layout, but your team's efficiency, their whole mindset about always getting better.
It goes way beyond just being tidy.
It's about building a smarter, more engaged, and ultimately, yeah, a more successful way to work together.